The kart racer is one of my all-time favorite game genres, but I feel like my taste in kart racers is so strange.
Classics like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Crash Team Racing, Sonic All-Stars Racing Transformed, and Diddy Kong Racing are all great games. But I want to play the one with Pac-Man in it, please. I like this one. And then you have the holy trinity of kart racers, Muppet Race Mania, Mario Kart Wii, and of course, Garfield Kart.
Yeah, I think that tells you just about everything you need to know about me.
I've talked before about why I love Muppet Race Mania so much, and I've had some difficulties trying to record my Wii. So today, let's talk about the instant classic that is Garfield Kart. And I'll probably talk about the Pac-Man one sometime too. I swear it's good, I know you don't believe me. Garfield Kart released in 2013 for PC, mobile, and the Nintendo 3DS. The game was met with much critical acclaim, being called bland and horribly unbalanced by Nintendo Life, and absolutely dreadful by Hardcore Gamer.
God, game journalism, am I right?
While those clueless game journalists may have hated the game, the Steam reviews are incredibly positive. All the true Garf heads out there love this game. On May 21st, 2018, I bought Garfield Kart. It was the first game I ever purchased on Steam. And what did I think? John, that is a dumb hack. Let's go. Oh, no, John, no. Come on, John, we're still in this race. We're in dead last. But we can still do it. We're still in it. Go, Garf! Go. Oh, no. Oh, I did this poorly. Me too, Garf, me too. I'm feeling your pain. At first, I didn't really care for the game, and I made a few videos on the game ironically praising it. And then somewhere along the line, it stopped being ironic, and now I absolutely love this game because I'm an insane person. And then later that same year, they actually added online play to the game, so I checked that out with a couple of friends, and... Oh, it kicked me out of the room,
It's Mike, I'm blaming my keyboard. The game is
You guys, did you see you flying all over the place?
I don't think one of my laps counted.
That does happen sometimes.
This is my 4th lap.
I can't turn left.
This is a train wreck. Yeah, it was basically unplayable, but I still thought it was really cool that they were actually supporting this 5-year-old game that almost nobody liked. Then on November 5th, 2019, a full remake of the game, Garfield Kart Furious Racing, released. This time, the game came to all consoles as well, and once again got extremely poor reviews from everywhere except for Steam. Naturally, I own both Garfield Kart and Furious Racing on Steam, as well as the original on 3DS and Furious Racing on the Switch. Today, I'll mostly be talking about the original Garfield Kart, because I personally consider that to be the definitive way to play the game, but I'll mention Furious Racing when there are any notable differences between the two. The characters are the same across both games. Garfield Kart is actually based on the most recent Garfield cartoon from that time, The Garfield Show, so all the characters have their designs and voices from that. You have the obvious picks, Garfield, John, Liz, Odie, Arlene, and Normal. It also has Squeak, which is a cool addition, and Harry, who was a character exclusive to The Garfield Show. For what it was, the roster was pretty good for the original game. I do wish the remake had gone a little further and included at least 1 or 2 more. Vito was a regular character on the show who would have been neat. Lyman appeared on the Garfield Show, that would have been a great inclusion. Even Garzuka would have been hilarious.
Comrade!
You can sort of customize vehicles, choosing a car, spoiler, and hat. Each character has a specific combo that gives them their best stats. I used to be an Odie main, but I can't actually unlock Odie on my new computer. I think when I installed the mod loader to get custom tracks in the game, it messed something up, and now I just can't unlock any more characters. I may have sacrificed Odie to play on Rainbow Road by accident.
What did it cost?
Everything.
Honestly, not a bad trade. Rainbow Road is a great track that translates surprisingly well over to Garfield Kart, and even if I'm not able to unlock Odie, Garfield's still just as fun. Although this is a game called Garfield Kart, so there is a chance that mods have nothing to do with it, my game is just glitched. Either way, I can get my Odie fix in Furious Racing at least. Both games technically have online multiplayer. In the original, it's so hard to connect to other players, and it takes ages to actually get it working, and once it does work, it doesn't work well. Furious Racing supposedly has online multiplayer, but surprisingly enough, there's never anybody online to play with, so I'll take their word for it that it works. But I'm a freak of nature who likes playing kart racers single player, so I'm not too bothered by it. But anyway, original Garfield Kart, controls feel really nice actually. I'm not really good at describing this sort of thing, so I won't. Look, controlling your character is the most important thing for me in a game. Typically, if movement is not fun, the game is not fun. There's obviously exceptions to this, but for the most part, this is what I look for in a game. And I don't even necessarily need perfect, glitchless, flawless, responsive controls. Some games have movement options that let you completely break the game. And for some games, that adds to the fun. That's why I like Mario Kart Wii. Controls feel really good, but you could also do stuff like this. Garfield Kart is just in that sweet spot of good feeling polished controls, but just unpolished enough to let you do funny stuff with it. I highly recommend checking out speedruns of this game. This stuff is ridiculous. And this is the biggest difference between Garfield Kart and Furious Racing for me. Even though the content between the two games is exactly the same, they feel completely different from each other. Furious Racing doesn't play terrible or anything, but it definitely feels worse than the original. Drifting feels a bit more uncomfortable, sometimes you move so fast that you just cease to exist. It's really easy to flip over, you could just get stuck on the back of another car. Everything just feels a little bit clunkier. In the original game, I just feel like I have a lot more control over my character. I have more gripes with Furious Racing, but I'll get to those later. And I should say now, if you prefer Furious Racing to the original game, that's completely valid. I like the Pac-Man kart racer. Do you really think my opinion matters that much? Items are the same in both games. You have the ones you'd expect. Lasagna makes you fast, pies can be dropped behind you or thrown forward, homing pies chase players, perfume bottles are invincibility, pillows make other racers fall asleep and drive slowly, bombs attach to the racers before exploding, sort of how they do in Crash Team Racing. The game has some more interesting ideas too though. The spring gives you a giant jump, and there's a lot of cool uses for this, both intentional and unintentional. The magic wand shoots a beam forward, and if it hits, you'll switch places with that racer. You can just hang back and steal first place right before the finish line. It's completely unfair, and it's hilarious. The Mario Kart Blue Shell equivalent is the UFO. Instead of a quick explosion, this thing abducts you and holds onto you, making you watch as everyone passes by. But you can pass safely through it by drifting. The music is the same across both games, and none of it's original, it's all taken directly from the Garfield show. It honestly makes for really good video game music though. Who knew this show had so many good tracks? Speaking of tracks. There's 16 racetracks. All of them in the original are also in Furious Racing. I'm going to talk about the original ones first, since I consider these to be the definitive versions of these tracks. Most of them are pretty basic. There aren't really any crazy gimmicks or hazards like there are in games like Mario Kart. It's a very pure driving experience. And simple doesn't mean bad in this case. The track design is honestly pretty excellent for the most part. A lot of these I don't really have much to say about, so I'm just gonna cover some of the more interesting ones. I'm sorry Cats in the Hood fans, it's a great track, but like, what more can I say about this? Country Bumpkin is one of my favorites in the game for sure. The setting is great, farms have always been a staple Garfield location. There's so many twists and turns throughout the field and the corn maze that you can quickly drift through, it's so much fun. And then there's that huge open field that you can skip through with a speed boost, or you can drift boost through the last haystack to cut the corner. You can cut off another chunk of the track near the end by drifting and jumping this hill. This track just makes good use of the mechanics, it's really fun to speed through. Spooky Manor is another really cool one. There's those high alternate paths you can take with the spring. There's the cool parking lot shortcut near the end of the lap, but you can also just drive around the whole parking lot. There's no reason to, but it's cool that you can. I always found it a bit odd that Pale Rock Lake was the track that they chose for the interior art for Furious Racing. It's not a bad track by any means, but a rainy swamp isn't really the usual setting I tend to imagine Garfield in. Speaking of which, there's 4 desert tracks in this game. I didn't really watch much of the Garfield show. Was the middle of the desert a reoccurring location or something? Some of these blend together a little bit, but they're all pretty good. My favorite has to be the last desert course, Mysterious Temple, where most of the track is going through the inside of these ruins. In fact, the last 4 tracks of this game are all really solid. Prohibited Site is a fun race through a construction site where you have to turn quickly because there's all these big boxes in the way. Casco Park has these ramps everywhere, and there's some pretty cool shortcuts. But my favorite track in the whole game is definitely the last track, Loopy Lagoon. There's not really any particular reason, it's just really fun. There's this part near the end too where you have to drive around this rock, but you can just turn around and skip it. It's really cool. All of the tracks in the original are really good, so how are they changed for Furious Racing? Let's start out by saying these tracks do look much nicer. The visual boost this remake got really helps these to stand out more. Too bad they're not as fun. That big open field in Country Bumpkin has a fence blocking it off. Spooky Mansion got rid of the parking lot entirely. Prohibited Sight removed some of the boxes to make the track much easier. They removed a lot of the most memorable parts from these tracks. Even if they look more distinct now, they don't feel as distinct when you remove all the interesting elements from them. I can settle for worse controls, but when you remove the funny Loopy Lagoon boulder cut, we're gonna have a problem. Technically, you can still do this one in the air, but it's a lot more awkward and less fun than just doing a quick turnaround, so the point still stands. Furious Racing is an alright version of Garfield Kart, and it's nice being able to play it on a console, but Garfield Kart is always going to be the definitive way to play it in my eyes. I realize how completely stupid it sounds when I say this, but Garfield Kart really is one of my favorite games from one of my favorite genres. After a long, hard day of work, it's nice to just unwind and drive through Loopy Lagoon and time trials.
Now that I've set the bar that low, I won't sound as crazy when I say the one with Pac-Man in it is so good, you guys.